Hello and welcome back to the Cricket Nerds. It's the full contingent of the boys, and today we've got a jam-packed episode for you. We've got a bit of England Aussie stuff, we've got a bit of India South Africa stuff, and then for the die-hard fans, we've got a bit of Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy. So there's a lot to love on this channel. Don't forget to subscribe because we do it all here and we deserve the subscriptions. You know it, we know it. So yeah, leave a like and subscribe for more. What we're going to get into first is the T20 that's just happened today, which is the day of the match between England and Australia, because it's been quite a good game, actually. England have managed to seal the series with an 8-run win, the second 8-run win in a row, against the current reigning champions on their own turf. So it's a good feeling for the English, but we're going to break it down a bit. So the first thing I want to talk about is England obviously batted first. They lost the toss and were put into bat. Benji, what was your opinion on that start of the innings, particularly our boy Dawid Malan?
There's only one man I want to talk about, and that is Dawid Malan, the man. Like, he came in, steadied the ship. It was beautiful. He did what he is known to be done for. His second or third ball, I think, he played one of his perfectly just like loose cover drives straight through, and it looked delightful. I think this is with Malan. He's got that defined role within the team, and I think that's why he's flourishing so much at the minute in his cricket that he's playing, because he has that defined role. If we lose a wicket early, steady the ship and then bat 18 overs. That's his job. Like, steady the ship, bat for 16, 17, 18 overs, and then it doesn't, and then go hard. It doesn't matter if you get out, as long as you've been there all the way through the innings. The score will have kept ticking over, and then you can either be the set batsman at the end, because we can see he has that ball striking ability. He can hit sixes for fun off anyone he wants to, or if he's out, we've got massive hitters to come in. You saw that today with England losing. After Buttler and Hales got off to a relatively. Butler had to work for his runs today. He didn't make it look as easy as he has in the past. And both of them went out to relatively soft dismissals. But Malan came in and was able to steady that ship. We then lost Ben Stokes and Harry Brook as well for single figures. And again, both of them, it was okay because we had Malan there and Moeen Ali, who came in and steady the ship, which then allowed the Sam Currans, the Chris Jordans in the World Cup, the Liam Livingstons, who are bigger hitters and can go from ball one, to come in and do exactly that. Like, you're never going to see Sam Curran come in now and score a 50 off 30 balls, because he's going to be trying to go hard off ball one. He's either going to get 40 off 20 or 8 off 4. Like, that's how it's going to be. So yeah, I've been really impressed with Malan. One thing that's confused me a little bit though is Ben Stokes. What's he doing?
It is an interesting one, isn't it, with Stokes, because he's there in the middle order as kind of the I don't know, like an all-out, just attack the bowling, kind of follow that mantra that he's set in the Test cricket, to go from ball one, don't be scared of the bowlers, have that aggressive mindset, I guess. And it didn't really work today, and it's not really working for him at the moment. And I think with Stokes in 2020 cricket, I'd liken it to, say, Rishabh Pant in the Indian setup. We know what a maverick of cricket he is. We know how good he can be. And yet, for some reason in 2020, it's like, where does he slot in? And that's the same with Rishabh Pant for India. And I think we as an England cricket team need to decide. Ben Stokes, I think they put him at number 4, which is fine, but is that the best place for him? Because at the moment, he's taking up too many deliveries. He's not timing the ball particularly well, and he's only really being used as a bowler and an excellent fielder. he almost pulled off a wonderful catch in the Australian innings. So he's a good fielder. He's a great bowler, but at the moment his batting is letting him down. So I don't know. It's hit or miss at the moment. I don't know what your thoughts are on Stokes, James.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I said it a few episodes ago, particularly about Rishabh Pant, was he's got an identity crisis. They don't know what he doesn't know what the India side needs from him. And so he kind of does a bit of everything and therefore nothing. And Stokes, I don't think it's in his natural game to go from ball one, because we've seen him be amazing in ODIs and amazing in T20 in Test matches. Sorry, and in those situations, have you ever really seen him go above a strike rate of like 140, 150? So I can't recall it.
No.
And that's a brilliant strike rate, don't get me wrong, but it's not 220. It's not Liam Livingstone levels of just I'm hitting sixes or I'm not running. And Ben Stokes, I don't think he's trusting his natural game. Dawid Malan is somebody that looks like he's trusting his natural game. He knows that he's not going to be, bludgeoning it, like getting thick outside edges and it goes for six. He's not that type of player, but he knows that cover boundary, he's going to pepper it. Like anything over pitched on the offside, he can put it away. Stokes doesn't look like he can trust himself with that. And I think England, they made the right call with picking Stokes overall. I'm still maintaining that. I think he's going to be quite an exciting person, and he's, obviously a brilliant bowler as well. But when you've got somebody like Ben Duckett, who was so consistently amazing, waiting in the wings, that's kind of where I see the argument fall down, because you could have him.
Yeah, I think my last point on Stokes is the fact that he's very much, he's got the tools, right, to do well in 2020 cricket. And we've seen glimmers of greatness in 2020 cricket with Stokes. He was named man of the tournament in one of the IPLs. We've seen him hit in the IPL as well, hundreds off hardly any deliveries. And he's done well in the Big Bash when he was earlier on in his career. He's just never done it for England. And I don't know if that's because in the entirety of Stokes' 2020 career for England, England have had a good 2020 side where you're not the main man. Whereas when we think about England's best 2020 players, we think Butler and we think Moeen Ali, people like that. Whereas we don't automatically go to Stokes. And Stokes almost plays better when he's the one the team's relying on, when he's got to step up and be that big moment player. That's when he shines. I think that's one of the issues.
I think the stats speak for themselves. Like Ben Stokes' best score in a T20 game is 107 not out for Rajasthan Royals 2 years ago, I think it was. 25th of October 2020, his best score in a T20, 107 off 60 balls, not out at the end. Played a great innings. And as you say, Steve Smith came in at number 3, but who is that guy? Josh Butler was down at number 5. Like, what's going on there? Like, but like Stokes came in, and yet the team was built around him, who was the highest purchase in that IPL. Like, there's a reason why he was. So he must act differently as you both have just said, in this setup. On another point, and just to end our talk about Ben Stokes, like we do, as you've said, James, you want him in that side, like in a pressure situation, apart from the 2015 World Cup, won't talk about that, but in a pressure situation, he's the man that you want to bowl that death over, to be batting. You saw that in 2019. So talking of pressure situations, great fielding, we didn't see some examples of that today with Australia. Their catching was a bit poor, wasn't it, boys?
Yeah, I've got a bit of a motto that the boys have heard this year. It's not catches win matches, it's drop catches lose matches. And I think we saw that with Australia today, especially with Moeen Ali. He had too many chances go down off him, and that proved costly because he and Dawid Malan were able to build a really good partnership together. And I think if if one of those had held or be taken at the start, then Dawid Malan, as good as he player as he is, as you talked about, Benj, he would have been batting with the tail. And so that's not an ideal situation. And Australia could have really seized the match at that point when England were struggling. And also there was a chance early on which was of Joss Butler, and he hit it through the hands of an Australian fielder. I don't know whether England just hit the ball too hard because there were a lot of bursting through the hands today. But yeah, it wasn't great from the Aussies.
So should we go on to the Australia innings now? Because yet again, well, they reverted back to type. So Finch is no longer the middle order maverick that they were trialing for a very unknown reason. He's now back to being an opener again, and yet it didn't work too well for him. What was your opinion, Zach? You're an opening bat. What's your opinion on my boy Aaron Finch?
When Owen Morgan struggled for form, which has happened a lot, but he kind of did that little weird crouch thing before he'd bat. Finch almost looks like that. He's almost like trying to get as low as he can. And someone's not going through a good patch when they're doing something like that. I know he's hit a few good innings of late, but it just looks so unnatural. It's just a bit weird. And you need a solid player at the top of the order. They've got David Warner, but you want the captain scoring runs, because if the captain's not scoring runs, that you need that good energy from your captain. So yeah, it's not ideal for him. But the rest of the batsmen did pretty well. Ben, what are your thoughts on like Mitchell Marsh, for example?
Mitch Marsh, he is looking pretty good, isn't he? Like, considering Mitch Marsh was one of the main reasons that Australia won the World Cup, the fact that he is in form, even in a losing cause like this today, that's a scary thing. And when you've got people in the hutch like Glenn Maxwell and Marcus Stoinis as well, who can come out and smash it around, I'm not even going to mention Tim David yet, but when you've got these boys in there, like, it can be dangerous. We were lucky today, I think, in the fact that Curran removed both of Maxwell and Stoinis. Like, Stoinis was looking like he could have got on. A bit like Tim David did, because he came out and played that innings that we've all been waiting for him to play. Like, Tim David has been setting the world alight in the T20, in the Big Bash, in the Pakistan Super League. Not maybe as much in the IPL, but in Pakistan he came out and made the name for himself, and finally has now got this opportunity to play for Australia, and he's playing that perfect innings, that 40 off 20 balls. That's what you want from a player like Tim David. That's what England want from Liam Livingstone, but he always gets himself out. Like, what's going on there? But that's what you want from someone like Tim David, and especially those two with a bit of good form today. If any of the others of Warner, Maxwell and Stoinis fire as well, that's a dangerous side. So I think we were good today, and I think one thing that really helped us today was our bowling. And I think, for me, if we want to come on to the bowling now, unless you guys have anything else to say on the batting, Sam Curran, pick of the bowlers.
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant. I think he's really put his hand up and said, I'm your death bowler, pick me. Because that was the main reason that people give in, like a lot of the pundits on Sky Sports, things like that. They were saying, I'd pick Jordan because you need your specialist death bowler. And what aspects you need to be a death bowler are you need to be able to keep a completely level head, and you need to be able to know exactly what you're going to do and execute your plan. Jordan keeps a very level head. He knows what he's going to do, and he consistently does not execute it. Sam Curran, on the other hand, I don't know why, because he's not quick and he's short. So there are no aspects of him that should work, and yet he's really difficult to get away. He's executing his plans, and he keeps such a level head. So I think he's the death bowler now, and he's proven himself to be just a better version. And then the rest of the bowlers I thought did really well. I thought Adil Rashid was really unlucky not to get a wicket with a searing googly that just jumped over the stumps. Other than that, I was very impressed actually with England's bowling, and particularly Sam Curran, because he kind of won us the game.
So do you think bring Mark Wood in for Chris Jordan? Do you think that's
That would be
probably
my
the best
move.
swap?
Yeah, because Mark Wood's that point of difference. Chris Jordan. I mean, I think that especially with Stokes filling in the way he did, bowling brilliantly, that kind of between them we can get the overs. Like if Stokes isn't doing well, you bring in Topley. If Topley isn't doing well, you bring in Wood, and it's just there are a lot of high quality bowlers there, in my opinion.
And we're forgetting as well, in the World Cup, we'll have Livingston too. So we'll have another 4 overs of potential spin bowling as well. Maybe for someone like David Willey, I'd imagine would be the person that would make way for Liam Livingston. But you get that extra utility there of spin. The issue with that is that in Australia, spin hasn't looked always like the way to go. Like if you look at any of the games so far, the seamers have been doing better, I'd say. If you look at talking about like Sam Curran, pace off seam has been the way to do it. In the last T20, Nathan Ellis was really the point of difference. So actually front loading and going with almost more specialist seamers, more specialist spinners. I'm not sure if that's the best way to do it. It looks like on these Australian pitches, it's giving more to a bowler who comes in and is using their clever variations.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Right, I think that's a good place to move on from England, Australia, which we're always going to chat about that for ages. But especially when England win. But another interesting thing that happened was the third ODI between India and South Africa. It was the decider. It had been an okay series. India, I don't want to call it a B squad because Ishan Kishan in an interview said that hurts his feelings when he's called part of the B squad. So India's alternative first team, they absolutely rolled South Africa. And most of it was down to my boy, thick Kuldeep Yadav, who, can I just say, one day maybe we'll release footage in the nets of us trying different types of bowling. I am the worst leg spinner you will ever see. And yet I really enjoy watching leg spin. And Kuldeep Yadav's left arm unorthodox, left arm wrist spin, he gives it such a rip. Like you can tell his main aim is just to try to turn the ball as much as possible. And then he's got a really good googly as well. And when it comes off, there's nobody better, I don't think, than when Kuldeep Yadav is really up song. He took 4 for 18 or 4.1, and it looked unplayable. It looked so unpleasant to be out there. And I think it's just been really horrible practice for South Africa coming into a World Cup, playing on spinning decks in India in an ODI just before a T20 World Cup on hard decks in Australia. What are they doing, boys?
Well, I was just thinking David Miller's probably saying to Kuldeep Yadav and Washington Sundar and Shahbaz Ahmed, he's probably saying, let's play it at the Wanderers in Johannesburg. Let's see how you can spin me out then, because it's different, isn't it? Like if you remember the England-India series when England last toured India, and it was ridiculous spin. It was unplayable, and it's completely different to playing spin in somewhere like Australia, where, as Benji said, it's a struggle for a lot of spinners. Only Adam Zampa seems to know how to bowl in those conditions, and yeah, it's just different. Although, as you said, James, it's very nice to watch. And India made light work of a very small total. So yeah, well played to South Africa to get one game in the series, I think.
Yeah, genuinely. And again, we just highlight the depth of Indian talent. And
James,
going on from that, actually, that's a really good segue.
Speaking about Indian talent, have you got us an update from the Syed Mushtaq Trophy?
Well, you know me. I love the Syed Mushtaq Trophy, even though I'm really not sure about this substitution malarkey. And I will give you an update maybe in a couple of podcasts' time on what my honest thoughts of the impact of that are. However, I just want to point out one person, because we've had a couple of really good innings in the Syed Mushtaq Trophy, notable from like Nitish Rana and Devdutt Padikkal, both turned up, very good tons as well. But the person I want you guys to remember that I almost guarantee you've forgotten is Venkatesh Iyer,
Oh,
who had that amazing like half a season when the IPL was split up because of COVID. He had half a season because KKR just decided to play him, and he turned out to be insanely good. He got in the India side. He was going to be Hardik Pandya's replacement because Hardik had dropped off, and then he just crashed and burned in the latest IPL. And yet, in this latest game, or not the latest game, in the first game of the Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy for Madhya Pradesh, I'm sure I've butchered the name of, he scored 62 not out of 31. So, strike rate of 200 there, and took 6 for 20 off 4 overs. Like, that is unreal. And I really, really hope for this next IPL and going forward for India that Venkatesh Iyer just becomes that internationally, because that is so much fun. Like I like Venkatesh Iyer. He was that underdog he shot up and he shot down, and I really want him to rise from the ashes.
who was he bowling to? Like, was it like 4-year-old
Or was he
kids?
bowling as well?
Well, he bowls right arm medium.
Right on medium, yeah. He's not quick.
And he's bowling. I mean, the thing is, even if you don't recognise all the names inside Mushtaq Ali Trophy, you will, because so many of them end up getting IPL contracts. So many of them end up like doing really well in certain games. The depth of talent in India is mad, especially in that T20 format, where now that the IPL is drip feeding into the domestic tournaments, it's there is a wealth of talent. Now we've got very little time left, but I do want to talk, or I do want to ask a cricket nerd's question. There we go. That was my pause for the intro. And this one is from Ken Singh, who has said, #CNQ, who are the 2 best opening batsmen in T20? And he has said, also, Benji is my favourite. Congratulations.
You know what won
Benji.
Ken Singh over was my analysis of Chris Woakes' bowling. So Ken
Right.
Singh, he's a good man, bowler at heart. Saw me get bowled in our short that we did, and said he thinks I'm a good bowler. So there you go.
That's a good. That's good. So yeah,
best opening batters right now in T20, Joss Buttler and Mohammad Rizwan.
Zach, what's your opinion?
I have to agree. Joss Buttler and Mohammad Rizwan.
I'm going to break the mold a little bit. I'm still going for Joss Buttler because we're all English.
David Warner. I'm going to leave this right
but
now.
I think David Warner is the other best opener at the moment. I think he's absolutely brilliant. Wouldn't go for a pint with the bloke, but I think he's very good. And on that note, we're going to end. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. You can follow our podcasts. I don't even know. You can follow the social medias.
This is going to be the last time you ever see James in this podcast, so it's been nice to have him for so long. But since he said this about David Warner, he's now off the podcast. Anyway, take care,
Everyone
guys.
who watches this video, tweet David Warner with the link to this video.
There we go. Goodbye.